The borders to Japan are finally gonna be open for tourism, and boy am I excited. The food, the people, the experiences, it's all so exciting, and just because I'm a top bloke, I've got a bunch of tips to make sure your trip to Japan goes smoothly. Hi, I'm Dave, and I'm the man obsessed with Japan, and this is my 15 tips for you when you travel to Japan for the first time. These tips are based around a moderate budget, so roughly $100 to $200 per day spending. My very first tip for traveling is tickets. You need tickets to get to Japan, right? Now my tip is I've used a lot of third-party apps before, like Skyscanner, and I don't like them. I don't like them at all. Now I use Google Travel, Google Flights, whatever it's called, and why I love this is because you don't have to use a round trip. You can actually go one way and you can see anywhere in Japan at that time, which is the cheapest to go to. The best part is you can search by each day prices. It's like Tuesday is a different price to Wednesday, which is a different price to Thursday. And so if you're flexible, you can get really cheap tickets. And now you do this reverse as well. So then you go from wherever you want to leave. Let's say you also want to leave from Tokyo back to Melbourne, and you do the same thing. And you can save like $200, $300, $400 just like that. My second tip is considering your price range and what season you want to go to. Seasons in Japan is pretty cool because in Melbourne, it's just either hot, cold, in between. In Japan, winter is like its own experience, spring is its own experience, and summer is brutally hot, and I wouldn't suggest it at all. But in saying that, if you want to save money, summer is a good time to consider because it'd be cheaper. Your most expensive seasons in Japan are spring and autumn. That is something to consider. Tip number 3, find a credit card with 0 international fees. For me, in Australia, anyone else who's in Australia, you can use Up Banking. They use MasterCard and it is 0 international fees. In saying that, don't be silly and cash out your money from any random ATM. If you go to 7-Eleven, you can cash out a bunch of money. And the best part, this is the best part. If you go on Google and you type 1 Australian dollar to yen and it says like 83 yen, it is accurate. It is so spot on. Tip number 4, consider how long you want to stay and exactly what do you want to see. This is the problem with going with groups, or what can be a problem, but you got to figure out what do you want to see? What do you want in Japan? Do you want busy cities? Do you want nature, a lot of nature? Do you want a lot of hiking? Villages that aren't very populated? Do you want the snow? Do you want mountains? Do you want food? Are you a big food person? You know, maybe you'll consider going to Osaka, which is the food capital of Japan. Tip number 5, figure out if a JR Rail Pass is worth it for your trip. So a JR Rail Pass is like a 7-day, 14-day, or I think 21-day pass that you can use to go on most of the major train lines in Japan. By the way, if you didn't know, trains are a big way of getting around Japan. So you can catch bullet trains with the JR Rail Pass, which are expensive, by the way. They're like $100 upwards. I think our ticket from Osaka to Tokyo cost us like $180 or something. It's pricey. So depending on your trip, it can be worth it. I'm pretty sure there is a JR calculator. Basically, you can type in where you're going exactly, and it'll tell you what it would cost if you were to buy just a regular ticket. Do some quick maths, add it all up, and then go, all right, that will cost me $800, a JR Rail Pass, $650. I'm better off just getting the JR Rail Pass. Tip number 6, don't over travel. So something that my friend and I did was we went to Shizuoka for 2 days, and then Nagoya for 3 days, and then Osaka for 4 days, and it really tires you out. Like having to carry your luggage, tidy up the Airbnb in the morning, get to the train station with your luggage, get on the train, travel to the next place, check into that place, unpack everything, and then explore is really tiring, like really, really tiring. I know you want to see as much as possible, but try to limit how much you travel in a few days. Tip number 7, don't overestimate staying in one major city. Like I was saying before, train stations get you everywhere. So for example, if you are staying in Osaka, rather than getting another Airbnb or hotel in Kyoto or say Nara, you can just catch a train out to those areas. So stay in Osaka, because most of your like Airbnb or hotel fees are when you book for short stays. Once you stay somewhere for 2 or 3 days, it doesn't cost much to stay for an extra 2 or 3 days there. Tip number 8, don't overbook your days. All right, we get excited. We're like, oh, Japan, I want to do this in one day. And that's a terrible idea, I promise you, because there is so much to see and do that you're gonna want to go somewhere, and on your way there, you're gonna stop and look at that thing and go there. And then you're gonna check your watch and go, shit, I'm late. Japan is a very explore country. You just stumble upon things and you're like, whoa, what is that? I want to check that out. So don't overbook your days. I recommend having 2 things locked in for each day. Just a rough time, like, all right, this for lunchtime, this for after lunchtime. Tip number 9, an awesome way to explore Japan is use Google Maps. So for food especially, this is the best way to go about it. Just Google Maps food, or if there's something specific that you want, like curry or katsu or onigiri or sushi or something like that, you search that thing and then you go 4.5 stars minimum. I mean, that's what I do in Melbourne and it works just as well in Japan, but that's a great way to make sure you have good food every time. Tip number 10, use Google Translate when you get stuck. It's surprisingly really accurate. It helps me get out of a lot of tricky situations, especially when ordering food. You can find menus that are only in Japanese. Or for example, we went to this Japanese barbecue place and they were telling us certain things were free and then other things weren't free. And it was so tricky because we were like, if I pick this up, are they gonna get really angry because we didn't pay for it? So we just used Google Translate and said, hi, sorry, like, which one was free again? Tip number 11. For a really fun, genuine experience in Japan, try learn the basics of Japanese. Try learn how to say like, excuse me, where is the toilet? Where is this place? Hello, goodbye. Things like that. It just helps so much, like having that little bit of knowledge. It's so much more fun. It really is. Tip number 12. You can buy a data SIM for your phone. So obviously we live in a day and age where you need data, you need internet, you need Wi-Fi, right? You can go 2 ways about this. You can either get a portable Wi-Fi modem so that you can share it with groups, or you can buy a data SIM. There's websites. I'll put another website here. You literally just search Japan data SIM and there's all these websites with different offers, different packages for the amount of days that you're going for. And just do your research. Just research that stuff. Tip number 13. I personally prefer Airbnbs over hotels. They're cleaner, they're nicer, they're typically bigger, and you can get like really good locations for a fair, reasonable price. If you don't feel comfortable with Airbnbs, like you think it's gross or the safety or whatever you're worried about, you can choose an option to filter your searches by Superhost, which means they're highly rated Airbnbs that strongly recommend, which usually is safe, clean, all the above. And actually a lot of Airbnbs come with a Wi-Fi modem. I was blown away looking at Airbnbs in Japan. Tip number 14, I think. I seriously lost track. 7-Eleven is your best friend. If you're from Australia like me, 7-Eleven is trashy food. Like you don't go there looking for a decent meal. In Japan, on the other hand, it's the total opposite. You can get proper meals like sushi, onigiri, chicken katsu, sandwiches, proper fried chicken, like proper meals. If you're trying to save coin or if you're just on the run, don't be scared to pop into 7-Eleven or Family Mart. They have really good food. Tip number 15. I'm pretty sure we're at 15 now. Try and stay close to the main areas. Do yourself a favor, search best area to stay in Tokyo, Osaka, etc. And it'll tell you which prefecture or which area specifically to stay in, and I highly recommend it. For example, we stayed in Dotonbori in Osaka, which is right next to the main strip of Osaka, and it was like literally less than a 5-minute walk to the main strip. And it was awesome. You go down, you can have food, you can have drinks, and it's just walking distance home. And now I know a lot of people are probably thinking that's gonna be hella expensive, but think about it. You don't have to pay for taxis to get home. You don't have to pay for a bus or train ticket to get home. By the way, trains and buses end at a certain time. So if you are someone who likes to be out late, that's something to consider. Number 4, you don't have to walk around as much. You don't have to walk to and from stations or buses, so you'll have more energy to use on the next day because you're not walking back and forth as much. So that's my 15 tips. I hope any of those helped at all. They're pretty generic. They're pretty just, you could probably find those tips anywhere, but these are tips that personally helped me. Oh, I can't wait to go to Japan. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I can see you in Japan very soon. Goodbye.